how do you assign value? What is value when it comes to determining that perceived value from a consumer's perspective of any particular piece of IP that you have, whether it's VFriends, whether it's this NBA All-Star?
It's the only thing I think about, like your Puma socks. My brain goes to, those are 37-cent socks that he paid $9 for because it has 4 letters in the same order with the same logo and it means something. So, for me, that's just how the entire world works. This is a bottle of water. This was free for 1 trillion years. And then somewhere about 50 years ago, someone's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna sell something that is actually free. And if I can make the brand mean something, people will actually pay a lot of money for something that was free.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because the thing that saved me as an entrepreneur was watching the stories of other successful entrepreneurs, and I learned from their advice, I learned from their motivation, and honestly, I have no idea where I would be if I didn't have those videos to inspire me. I still need them for myself today too, and I hope that they can inspire you as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Gary Vaynerchuk, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
I think it's the only thing. I think it's how monarchies or capitalism or democracy or communism or dictators work. I think it's how people parent. All I think about is IP. All I think about is comms and marketing and how things work. And then for me, specifically in the journey I'm on, my driver for building out my IP selfishly is about, I think I can build a big business. Selflessly, I think about if I can create 300 characters in a Pokemon Sesame Street Marvel-like world where I can do what I've done for 15 years as Gary V and pushed kindness, patience, empathy. Well, that's been hard. Gary V is a very specific human being who's gonna work for some people and is not gonna work for others. But this patient panda might be more effective of teaching people patience than me. And so for me, I'm really enjoying the building out of the intellectual property, and I want to really leave a legacy. I'm very, very affected as I become more educated on how Jim Henson saw the world.
Rule number 2 is stay focused on the present.
I don't think about things about tomorrow. I keep an eye on things about tomorrow. I don't focus on yesterday. I try to change a lot of my friends and contemporaries and clients to get away of being religious about yesterday. So I'm a champion of today, and metaverse is not here today in my opinion, but I'm keeping a heavy eye on it. No different back to the transition of AI. I looked at so many AI startups 3, 4, 5 years ago, and almost all of them were API or fake AI. They weren't AI. Now, are you kidding me with this Jasper this and your ChatGPT this, and then today I saw a headline about Google Music something that, like, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, are we here. And now this becomes a conversation about today. So I think AI is gonna have a very nice rise here. It's gonna be interesting to watch. I consider it part of Web3 in some ways. I think all these new technologies will probably get categorized that way, and I'm excited about it. But as far as the metaverse, I really struggle seeing it not being a big part of life. I just don't know if that's 7 years from now, 3 or 22. So I'm always keeping a side eye on it while I focus on what to execute on today.
Rule number 3 is use social media to grow.
Nobody here today in 2023 is confused that human beings' attention sits on social media at scale. Everybody here has an opinion of that. Unfortunately, many people here deploy their human opinion, their feelings about TikTok in China, or Facebook and Zucks, or that their kids are on it too long. You deploy your subjective human opinion as a human on it when thinking about your actual business. The consumer you're trying to reach to sell your service to is really not super interested on your hot take of what 13-year-olds are doing on TikTok. They're not super intrigued by how much you like or dislike Facebook. They just live their life, see things, and spend their money. I want every person in this room after this conference to go home tomorrow and post somewhere between 8 and 15 pieces of content on LinkedIn, YouTube Shorts, Facebook, Instagram, Snap, TikTok, and I want you to do it every day. I know that nobody wants to do that. I know this because I watch the world. This is clear. What I just said is 100%. It's non-debatable fact that the people that are outflanking in every micro segment of every business, in the output of creative, and of course the quality matters. Of course the quality of what comes out of your mouth is a variable of your success. But before you even start the debate of what do you say, or what are you talking about, or how are you doing this, the data is undeniable that the companies and humans in service businesses that are outposting its competitive set are picking up market share by the simple fact of there's just too much attention of society on these 7 to 10 platforms. There are people in this room that will do one video of here's a fun fact of the opportunities in mortgages, post that on Instagram Reels and TikTok, and with no followers. You do not have an account yet, and it's your 7th video, and one video like that may go viral and lead to more leads for you in a 24-hour window than you would get the entire year. That happens every day. Yet, we continue to choose not to look. There's way too much deciding on subjective opinion in this room, and it's not about this room, it's the whole world. The reason I can say it is I see the data across the whole world. This is what's happening. This is why there's a supply and demand opportunity. Life is very simple. It's supply and demand. It's actually shockingly simple. If you understand supply and demand in every aspect about everything about life, you will start to understand how to make decisions. Very simply, the thing that I want to compel this room to is to understand the single biggest opportunity of under supply, not enough posts against demand, too much consumption, is leading to remarkable opportunity. So it's just classic, right? Like every single person here knows how to get into better shape. Everyone. There's not a person in this room that does not understand that it is a combination of eating better and going to the gym. Yet, I think we can all agree, not everyone in this room is doing that. I struggled with that for 40 years. 38 years I never wanted to do either, and then I just one day on a plane decided this is not gonna end up well, and I started working on it. 9 years later, 8 years later, I still never want to do it a single day. I literally hired a full-time human being to be my babysitter and travel. I'm being dead serious. I got to the financial level where I finally figured it out. I'm very good at being accountable to others. Just because it comes natural to me to do 10 posts a day, I know that for 80% of this room, it does not. But just like the journey I went on, which is I didn't want to die at 65. I thought it would be better to live longer. I like it. I'm doing something every day for 9 straight years that I genuinely hate. And so I don't care how much you hate social media. I don't care that you've decided it's ruined the world and the kids and the this and the that and I genuinely don't care. Because your customer doesn't care. It doesn't care what you think of it. I just desperately need you to stop losing market share. Because if you're not gonna do it, somebody else is, and those referrals are great, and they'll keep you going, but I don't have to explain to anybody here that if you don't get more, it's eventually gonna run out.
Rule number 4 is focus on yourself.
Every second you spend thinking about what somebody else has is taking away from time that you could create something for yourself.
Yeah.
You're losing. You're losing because you're laying in your bed looking at somebody's glamorous photoshopped picture of them doing something cool, and you're envious and you're jealous and you're impatient, and it's crippling your upside.
Yeah, because that's where I want to be, and I know I'm not there yet.
You haven't done shit.
I know.
So go do shit that actually gets you there so that you earn it, instead of like you dwelling that you're not there and hoping something's gonna happen. I don't know what's going through your mind. You've got to deploy patience, and you've got to love the process. I'm addicted to the process of the battle scars, the setbacks, the lack of, Taylor, I gave up my entire 20s. All of them. Imagine not doing anything fun or going anywhere for the next 8 years, including Saturday and Sunday. That's what I did from 22 to 30. Every day I spent 15 hours a day in a liquor store, thought about a liquor store, built a liquor store, sold wine, spent every day. Like this last weekend, don't lie to me, Taylor, what did you do this last weekend? What did you do Friday, Saturday and Sunday? Tell me the truth, don't bullshit me.
Yeah, no bullshit. I'm helping my mom right now on digital media and branding for her company.
Love you.
And so I had a marketing meeting with one of the people doing that.
Love you.
And then I also...
How much time did you have? How much time did you have for yourself on Saturday and Sunday that was not working every minute? Tell me the truth.
A lot.
I know. So that's the punchline, right? Now imagine this.
Yeah.
When I tell you this, you spent more downtime on not your career this weekend than I did in my entire 20s combined.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is study marketing.
Just tell me why $7 million is a bargain for an advertiser this year.
I mean, it all comes down to attention, right? Like, the reality is attention is the #1 asset and not potential attention. And you have the entire country actually focused on watching Super Bowl ads, which is unlike any other television commercial that runs in any shape or any form. Obviously, the commercial has to be good to make the thing happen, but the attention is underpriced compared to the cost per attention in every other environment that we see in digital television or traditional advertising.
Is this just because, I mean, if 100 million people in the US watch it, that's some of the estimates this year. If that's the case, that, yeah, it's always been the most widely watched event of the year, but compared to the single audience of any other program, show, any place you could find people assembled, it's that much bigger on a relative basis. Does that actually translate directly into return on investment?
No, it doesn't. It's that Americans actually want to watch the commercials. Nobody wants to watch the commercials on the Grammys. Nobody wants to watch the commercials on the Oscars. Nobody wants to watch the commercials in the AFC and NFC championship game or the NBA finals. This is the only time people in America actually want to watch a commercial, thus rendering it the best deal, while all the other commercials on television are grossly overpriced.
Rule number 6 is stay in control.
In creating all the content that you create and speaking your truth, have you ever thought about creating your own reality TV show?
No, but I do think the vlog has a little bit of that. Obviously, you probably know this. I'm quite private. You know, I share nothing about my family or personal life. So I don't, first of all, I would never let a network have that much control or economic upside knowing the world that I live in. But even then, I have too much empathy for them because they would want all the other stuff, and that's just a line I'm not willing to cross. So no, but I definitely think the vlog and what we do at Daily V gets into the nuances of it. And I enjoy the ability to control the narrative and not do hellacious things for Nielsen ratings. And you know, I'm just not willing. Listen, I am never ever going to be part of a machine that I don't control because it doesn't sound interesting to me, and that's why I would never do that.
Rule number 7 is live within your means.
So you obviously are working with young athletes. What's the biggest financial mistake you see them make early on in their careers?
Buying dumb crap, a car they shouldn't buy, jewelry they shouldn't buy, just cliche stuff. Look, I think everyone needs a level of outlet and enjoyment, but I think for some kids, they get too crazy on that. And then the reverse, the players are getting smarter. I think too many kids make investments in companies because macro, it sounds right, but a lot of times 95% of those companies are going to zero.
So what is the smartest thing you think they can do?
Is live within your means, which means have some savings out of that. So if it's $400,000 take home after taxes, don't live a $400,000 life. Live a $250,000 life so you have $150,000 in savings. So I think living within your means is always the game.
Rule number 8 is build a team.
I'd like to hear about Team Gary Vee. And a lot of people think, okay, to do this, because you say, I went on TikTok, but part of the way you're doing that is because people are multiplying your content, you're casting vision. Can you speak into maybe Team Gary Vee is pretty advanced now.
Yes.
Can we start a little bit at the beginning as you think about those that would say, what about my first hires? How do I even do this? I'm great at real estate or financial services, but okay, how do I start, where do I get my D-Rock? Where do I get the whole thing? Speak to early stages of building that team to help you grow with video.
You need to hire people that do things that you don't want to do.
Where do you find them?
The internet. People say things that drive me crazy because they don't want to do it. As if you can't find it. Are you telling me you're at this conference and you can't find people? You don't know what Fiverr is, you don't know how to post on LinkedIn, you don't know how to search terms on Twitter. Like, people come up with excuses. A lot of people don't grow because they want money to buy things. A lot of people's businesses don't grow because they want the business to give them money so they can get a Corvette or a second. This is back to, you've got to find the thing you like. Because if you're building a brand or your thing to buy the yacht, you're not gonna build a very big thing. I'm just building the thing to build the thing. It's more interesting for me to build the thing.
Rule number 9 is hold yourself accountable.
I think about leadership from this concept of gray, not black or white. Most leaders are gonna be either black or white. It's not empire of honey, it's honey empire. Nothing works unless there's humanity. The number one job of a leader is to eliminate fear. The reason we call it the honey empire when we talk about leadership is you get more out of honey than vinegar. You may get short-term wins in vinegar, but you will not get sustained wins with vinegar. Then there's the opposite side, the me, that everything's bubblegum and rainbows and you're putting it all on you, but you're quietly building resentment. You have to work on what I've worked on for the last 5 years, which is the ability to deliver what we call kind candor. But I realized that candor, that corporations love to stand up, was really for a lot of people an excuse to be mean, an excuse to control someone that they're managing so that they don't propel. You know how much human psychology goes into a manager that consciously knows the person they're managing is more talented than them? There's a subconscious repression going on there because they don't want it to happen. So candor all of a sudden became manipulation. So candor I always really struggled with. Somehow, some way, because I was working on myself, I sold myself on the concept of this term called kind candor. And it's transformed our company. Because what was happening for us was, I'm the CEO of the company, I'm the founder of the company, so you're listening to me for 10 minutes here, I think you're getting a sense of how we roll. The problem was we were on the opposite side. We created unlimited entitlement. If nobody's getting any critical feedback and nobody's allowed to say anything to anybody, it went the other way. We were 2 over here. I genuinely believe that every single thing at VaynerX, all 1,900 people, that every single thing that isn't working is 100% my fault. I really believe that's leadership. Here's why. I could be mad at project management. I hired the head of project management. The COO did. I hired the COO. Like, you have to fall in love with accountability if you have any interest in leadership. You have to fall in love with it. And most people don't want it, especially right now. Pop culture right now is in love with pointing fingers. Everything's about pointing fingers. Most of us here, looking around, we've all now are deep in our understanding of all the things our parents fucked up on. That is like, right? Like, we are in deep knowledge of every thought we have about mom and dad right now. My question is, like, when does that stop? Cool, great, agreed. Inconceivable that someone is sitting here that doesn't have thoughts about that. My question is, at what age do you take control and fix it for you? And that's how I think about leadership. I think there's such an opportunity if we just get real about it and find that middle. There's incredible happiness that comes along with 100% accountability because you feel like you're in control. All of it is stemming on the same thing. If you don't feel like you're in control as a human being, you were unhappy. The leadership of your own self, starts to become the practice that you can deploy for others. Every single thing I'm disappointed with, my default in my brain goes into, how did I not put this person in a position to succeed? So that is now leading to the thing I'm frustrated about. What didn't I do? Your own pain and frustration, you're deploying on others, right? So that's what you're bringing to the meetings and the energy. We just have to find a way to get all that poison out. You've got to get it out. That's all it ever is. It's just fear.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is take risks.
How do you do it? How do you push yourself to take a risk?
Practice.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I think you have to challenge yourself. Listen, careers are a big, the reason I talk so much about work is it's a scary percentage of our entire life. The amount of time you spend working in comparison to everything else you do is, when you add sleeping into the equation, it gets really intense. So I really push people here, and how do you do it? If it's too hard to do here because you were a student and you're in a machine and now you this, and like, you have to try to do things outside. Like, I actually think somebody here off of this talk who then goes and tries skiing, I don't know why I'm stuck in that today, for the first time and never was a skier, or cooking, or going to an opera, doing something completely uncomfortable, may start the process of them doing something uncomfortable here. I think it's practice. I think you need to, by the way, let me give you I like to go literal once in a while. I'm hoping one person does this. Go volunteer at a nursing home for one day in your life. I think you'll get a lot of value of what I talked about earlier, because perspective is the game, and you can get it real quick if you go into that jungle. And B, that's you doing something uncomfortable. I think people have to break patterns. I think you do something different, or build courage to do something different by getting used to it.
We are at a point in our lives where we all feel very similar to what you talk about a lot in regards to having the most opportunity to take on risks and try new things. But sometimes you do the calculations in your head. And even though the risk of failure is so low for us right now, there's still fear of taking that step, a voice telling you not to. What are different ways that we can conquer that fear? Also, why do you curse so much?
I'll answer the easier one. I think somewhere along the line I realized, if I just stay being myself, a lot of good things will happen in a world where nobody stays themselves. And I'm a Jersey boy from the streets of Edison, New Jersey, right? Like, this is how I talk. This is how it is in my head. No different than when you wrote that down to ask the question, like, that's what was in your head. When I curse, it's in my head. And what's interesting is, it used to mainly only come out more in like public speeches and things of that nature. And then, I just never think, brother, right? I'm never thinking, right? And what I mean by that is I'm just being natural at all times. And so I don't even know when I'm cursing, genuinely. Really, I really don't. It doesn't even register. There's never been a moment where, like, I love when people like don't like it and they're like, he's forcing it. I just laugh so much, because I'm like, if these people knew how, if anything, there are times where I think about not trying to do it, but still can't control it because I'm just in my flow. As far as your first question, it actually ties to the second question. When I started public speaking and losing out on speaking gigs left and right because I cursed, I knew that I was gonna double down on what got me there, which was, I'm not gonna overvalue other people's opinions, I'm gonna value my opinion about myself. The little voice in your head is called the insecurity devil. The insecurity devil on your shoulder is your worry, is saying to you, don't do this, because when you fail, the girl you like, your brother, your mom, your teacher, like, someone's gonna think you suck, and you believe them. And that's the problem. If people really got into a place of just doing things that they want to do and not worrying about what people thought about it, everybody would take risks in their 20s. You, by nature of being in this program, are already taking risks that are different than your contemporaries, so you're already halfway home. But this is still school, even though it's different. And the real world, of jobs and companies and starting your stuff, that's the real jungle. This is just cool right now, what you're doing. But the real jungle is scary because there is no system. It's not subjective. You know, teacher Adam can't just say you're good. The world tells you the truth. And people are scared of the world. That's why we have professional students. And so, you know, I think the reason people are scared of the world is they actually think getting fired or having their startup fail or them not being able to be an influencer because nobody gave a f is a bad thing, when I think it's a great thing. This all comes down to confidence and insecurity. The reason you won't do something is you are too insecure to do it. I think people should listen to everything and try to find positivity and usability out of everything. And they should dismiss what is clearly negative and selfish, and they should triple down on everything that is selfless and positive. And that is the answer to your question that started here. What should people do? They should be very, very focused on trying to do the following. Lean in dramatically more to things that are positive. Your grandfather, podcasts, Upworthy.com, lean into positivity. Then they should be on the awareness, eyes wide open, on is this delusional and lacks practicality? Like, you know, if I just dream it, it will happen. No. Lean in, cut out. Literally, when this podcast is over, step back, audit your entire life from the people you spend time with, your family, your friends. Look at every person you follow. Are they triggering your insecurities for their own self-interest? Or are they trying to put love into it so that you go on and do your thing? Watch, look for it. But whatever you do, back to like working out, like, you know, protein. And, you know, when Mike Vacanti's like, all right, you did a lift, like protein. I'm like, really? Okay. And like during COVID, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm starting to finally get some muscles. Oh, because I was doing protein as after lifts and not after not lifts. I was doing it right. Here's something right for everyone. Cut out 1 hour of negativity, add 1 hour of positivity. If you're listening right now and you're like, social is such a drag, it's because you're in a drag mindset and the algos and the people you follow are following you. You know what my social looks like? Sunshine. I'm being dead serious. You know what my algos look like? Sunshine. In the world of the momentum of darkness right now, sunshine. You know why? I choose to fight for positivity, but I refuse to not be grounded in practicality, which is why I've always thrown curveballs. Love everybody, it's all awesome. 8th place trophies. What, Gary, what? 8th place trophies lead to entitlement and fear of losing, and it fucks up kids. So like, it's kind of that juxtaposition. Practical positivity is something everyone needs to add more. Self-awareness. So this is the one that I'm passionate about. Like for me, so much has worked for me because I understand myself in space.
Strengths, weaknesses, etc.
Yeah, and also when you deploy empathy with self-awareness, by the way, being Gary V is all based on this. Like, I'm aware why somebody be like, this dude. I'm empathetic to that. I get all of it. It makes it palpable. Here's actually, talk about something that's powerful. My greatest fear was to create fear in my companies. I hate fear.
You don't want a culture of fear in the business.
And that's what I think everybody does.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to rule by fear because I know it's powerful.
Only the paranoid survive.
And my dad ruled by fear. So I became very visceral to it. When I had to wake up 4 or 5 years ago and finally the subconscious became the conscious, and I realized that my lack of candor actually was creating a ton of fear at VaynerMedia because people didn't know where they stood. And you would have, you
were telling people what they wanted to hear. You were avoiding things.
That's right.
No, I think
I was massaging. I was trying to coach it through in a different way. I didn't care about money.
It also creates politics, right? Because people are like, we're not getting the truth. We got to do this.
Correct.
Side action.
Correct. And more importantly, pandering to me because I'm the ruler, right? And so when I really had that was a really dark moment for me in my career because when you realize the thing you most didn't want to do was happening. And so then I had to market to myself. I was like, candor doesn't work for me, and literally chipped away at it. And when the word kind went in front of it, it's been wild. And by the way, the last 18, 24 months, where my game has gone from a 10 out of 100 to call it maybe I'm a 60 out of 100 right now, that 50 has been monumental in my business success.
Interesting.
And so that motivated me to say, I can't believe how much of an impact this is having, because I had a lot of things going for me. But man, just this one, what happens if I actually get people to truly just deploy accountability? Because everybody that is listening right now has worked with somebody who just blames people for everything. It just is the way it is. And like, if you make that change, everybody around you will adjust very quickly. Right? Patience, I've come to learn, was so easy for me and is like impossible for everybody. Mainly, this is how I got down the path, mainly because I didn't realize how many people valued other people's opinions. So of course you want to be successful at 25. You want to show your mom, you want to show your friends, you want to show the world. Of course you're lacking patience. You want a BMW, you want a Rolex, you want a blue check mark, you want 1 million followers, you want to be an entrepreneur. And all this bad behavior happened in the last decade because of it. Failures are personal, they're not public. When I fail, I have the enjoyment of leaning into my addiction of humility, and I love that I've learned and I don't have to make those same pattern mistakes in the future, so I double win. I get another dose of humility, which I achieve for and strive for, and I get a learning that I'm smart enough and capable enough of not repeating. The reason people are scared of failure is because they worry about people's opinions on the outside, their parents, their siblings, which is silly because the reality is it's your life. The reason people are scared of failure is because they have egos. They actually think that their life is that important, that people's judgment of their failures is important. I know, even with my significance of awareness and popularity, success, notoriety, that at the end of the day, when I fail, that's me with myself, and that has nothing to do with any of you. The people closest to me, it has nothing to do with them. All of a sudden, once failure becomes an insular game, not an external game, failure does not become scary, it actually becomes interesting. The world was changed by writers, by poets, by musicians, by public speakers. Everyone here can have the world they want. The problem is, most people that are trying to do good or optimism are quieter than people that are trying to do negativity and bad. Negativity and darkness and bad is loud. They're on the offense. Positivity and happiness is content, thus not pushing themselves to be loud. One of the biggest things that I'm trying to do is be loud in the face of negativity, right? I see Vicky, one of my favorites, Vicky J, just like that, like in the face of anything and everything, I always want to go positive and do good. And I'm empathetic to people's feelings, but I'm always going to push positive things because it is positive. Life is complicated. There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of nuances, but positivity in this room needs to be louder. And so if he wants that, the reason he's not finding it is he's not putting it into the universe enough. More creative, more written word, more audio, more video, more jumping into me saying yes to this. I had these 30 minutes as if, like, I would have rather have somebody take a razor and slash my face than allocate the 30 minutes to this, given how much work I have to do before January 1st. And yet I said yes to this because intuitively I felt that I could leave a positive impact in these 30 minutes to somebody within the 2,000 people that are sitting here right now. And I was like, F it. And so it's painful. And like, after I hang up, I'm like, I really probably needed that 30 minutes. But then in 9 months, 16 months, 4 years, somebody here is gonna email me and say, I was listening to Twitter Spaces, you said something about accountability or kindness, and it changed my life. And then all of a sudden, it's all pro. I am booed every single day on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. That is being drowned out by a lot of cheering because I'm doing well and I'm a good guy. But there's still tons of booing, which cripples people. And it cripples them in making content, and it definitely cripples them in being an entrepreneur, because when your company fails, or when you're wrong about the next big thing, everybody makes fun of you. And if you can't deal with the no's and the boos, then you're finished. So it is a thick skin to being willing to be wrong. It's being a baseball player. You're willing to go 3 out of 10 because you know that gets you in the Hall of Fame. Most people want to just sit and watch you play baseball and judge you for being 3 of 10. A lot of people have reached out to me in the last 5 years on this. For people that follow me, a lot of people know I'm obsessed with context. I'm obsessed with context. It's why I'm a very good marketer. Making videos on TikTok is different than making videos on LinkedIn. The way I talk to a 22-year-old in Germany is different than the way I'm gonna talk to a 45-year-old in Afghanistan. Context is everything to me. I'm religious about context, which is why I think I'm one of the most successful content producers in the world. It's why I think VaynerMedia is one of the most successful content producers in advertising. When people are like, Gary, I've noticed a big change in you, I remind them that my message is pretty consistent, it's just contextual. If you read Crush It, my first book, what put me on the map, I talk about making $48,000 a year and loving life. That if you are ecstatic with your life and you're making $48,000 a year, you can stop reading this book, because this book is for people that are unhappy and are looking for ways to get out of the job that's making them unhappy. This YouTube and Twitter thing and Facebook thing is gonna be big. Unlike our grandparents, you can do this after hours while you're at home with your kids. This is a big opportunity. Most people saw the young rah, 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 rah. I wrote that book during an economic crisis. For example, if we go into a real, deep global recession, my content's gonna change dramatically, because what's gonna be needed in that moment is to remind everybody that hard work is part of the equation. When I was doing SEO and SEM in 1999, that was underpriced attention. How many people here have been doing SEM for their business for over 15 years? Raise your hand. Anybody? Right? Just a couple. Some of you remember how good of a deal that was? The stuff that you used to pay 48 cents for is now $73. Supply and demand. I need you to understand supply and demand of attention, and I need you to understand that it's going to be content for a long time. We are within the half decade of people watching TikTok on television 24 hours a day. Social networks have won the next decade. Brand and business is built in social. You could do other things. You've got tactics that work, I'm sure. Direct mail, outdoor, networking. You know what to do. It's tried and true. To get value out of me being here today, I need this to be the moment you finally said, F it, I'm gonna go try it again, or F it, I'm gonna try for the first time, or F it, I'm gonna go 4X harder, because it's really this wild moment in time where all the attention's reshifting and the macro industry is going to decrease, which means the winners in this space are gonna win, and the winners, in my opinion, are gonna be the content producers, and you've gotta find your way. And it's tough because the platforms I'm telling you are video-based. You know, everybody loved Instagram because it was easy. I'm gonna take a photo, and it's gonna look real good after I filter the f out of myself. And then I'm gonna write a couple sentences, and it's gonna be super cool. That is not the current marketplace. I know you want it to be, because that's a load easier than what you need to do now, but whether it's a podcast, a local show, one-offs, you're gonna need to figure out what your pillar content is so that you then can cut up and produce. You're also more than welcome, if you love the game and you've got the time, to produce for it, but I know it's not gonna be sustainable for most of you, which is why I'm pushing this pillar. And I put this out a long time ago, and a lot of people built businesses in many different industries off of it, but I think if you Google, and maybe somebody here can confirm it right now, but if you put, Gary Vaynerchuk content model 84 pieces, I put that out a long time ago. It's obviously the macros, right? Some of the details obviously change, but it'll give you a sense of what I'm talking about, of like, make a macro thing, post-produce. Again, so many people here raise their hand following me. It's all I do. It's very obvious to you. You see what I do. I bring up stuff from 9 years ago and then clip me talking about something about you just have to put yourself in a position to actually do it. But I'm telling you, and I'll leave with this and we'll go into the chat, it's the answer to the quiz. You cannot leave Las Vegas and not produce a lot of content if you want to grow or sustain. You can do whatever the you want. You're not my children. I actually give no I would just prefer you win because it's nice, and I like getting the emails 4 years later, 3 years later, it's nice. I'd like you to win. This is the one thing you can control the most. I know it's around self-esteem and self-awareness of how to produce the macro thing. Written word, audio, video, figure it out, but figure it out. For some of us, me included, go, go, go is the happiness. I try to tell a lot of my friends, they're like, Gary, you need to pick up golf. I'm like, golf. I don't like golf. Like, I'm pumped you love golf, and the fact that for 4 hours, that's your escapism. For me, my hobby is business. So for the same way people like skiing and cooking and golf, like for some of us in this room, the go, go, go is the happiness. The reason, if you pick up the context of what I just talked about, the reason I've always done what I've done is because I love it. When you're 9 and it snows and you don't want to make a snowman and go sledding, but you want to ring doorbells and shovel snow, like that's just in you. And so for me, first, for the people that are partners or have loved ones that go, 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 don't eliminate the thought that maybe that's just their great love, that the work is their hobby. That exists. I'm one of those people. On the flip side, I've watched too many friends and contemporaries burn out. If you die, your business is closed anyway. Like if you don't like it, this is a very simple thing. For me, everything works because I love it. But if you don't like it and you're doing it for the money, you're in deep shit. It's not sustainable. You are vulnerable. It won't work. It may work for 6 years. It may work for 9 years, but it won't work. I also think like, as we go through our journeys, for me, to your point from 2009, if you remember, it was similar to what I think we might be walking into. We had the 2008 crash. Nobody knew the internet. Think about what I'm talking about here today. When I was talking about that in 2008 and saying, you can make money on YouTube, people laughed at me. So I was very passionate to be like, hey, I know you lost your job, but it's not the end of the world. You can go hard. You can get a lower paying job during the day. And if you want to get out of it, you can do something you love from 7 p.m. to midnight.
What is your message to our Build in Public listeners and fans?
That if they can build a relationship with time and realize they have a lot more time, that they will have far less anxiety. And that, using a sports analogy, if you're down by 13 going into the fourth quarter and you win by 4, you won by 4. And a lot of people's fourth quarter in a basketball reference and in life reference is really ages 55 to 80. So I'd like to hear from everybody that's under 40. What are they so upset about that they haven't accomplished yet? You have more than half your life to do it. Nothing matters more than understanding where the actual attention is versus where the perceived attention is. And the perceived attention is usually garnered by the icons and leaders of the world. The establishment, where they want to see it, right? Sports, I'll give you a great one. Sports team owners want to see television commercials to feel like their league is relevant. Right now.
Yeah, it was relevant to them when they were kids.
The 65 to 80-year-old, the 58 to 80-year-old current sports owner from the English Premier League to the NHL, NFL, NBA, MLB, and everything in between want to see billboards and television spots to feel as if they're communicating their sport. While 90% of their audience is consuming it here.
Yeah.
That is perceived attention is on billboards and television versus actual attention is on TikTok and Twitter and Spotify and Netflix, right?
Yep.
That is the only thing that matters if you're trying to grow, and it's the most dangerous thing if you're declining without realizing it. I don't understand how people don't realize that kindness is the single strongest foundation to building a huge business. And let's have this talk. I really want to have this talk. I'm not on some ideology shit up here. I'm not on some Zen foo-foo Buddha shit up here. I'm a better businessman than all of you combined. Okay? That's where I'm at. So let there be no confusion when I talk over the next 5 minutes. I'm not on some like, let's zen it out, let's all be nice and kumbaya. I'm on some, I'll destroy every one of you hard. Okay? I have to say this because you have to hear me. I believe that kindness is an alpha killer business trait, not some nice additive to the way the world is today. Here's why. It's sustainable. When you're building something, how many people here are building something for themselves? Raise your hands. Higher. Higher. Thank you. There's a lot of people doing that in this room. You have to understand why kindness matters. Kindness matters because you yourself will feel better, and you're the engine. You have to understand why kindness matters. If you're kind to your employees, they stay longer. Continuity matters when you're building something meaningful. You have to understand why kindness matters. If you don't over your vendors by not paying them or doing the right, if you do the right thing, they keep doing business with you. You got to understand why kindness matters. Why the did I buy this sneaker? Why? It does look good, but why? This little swoosh is worth $1 trillion. This little swoosh is worth $1 trillion. That's called brand. When you're kind and you do it for 15 years, you build a reputation. That reputation, my friends, is called brand. We, all of us, have been taught way too long for the last 100 years about business that it's a dirty game, that it's a sharp elbows game, that if you're nice, you'll get walked all over game. It's not true. And I think it's time we start talking about it. Are you, seriously, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. And it's time that we talk about it. The people that are the kindest, most honorable, when you're so good that you have no negative intent for anybody else and you don't do wrong things, you move fast. I think one of the things immigrants have a massive advantage of is they know the alternative.
Yeah.
My incredibly awesome, epic friends who were born in this country, even if they travel a lot, you don't taste it the same way. You know, I came from communist Russia. Even though I came when I was young, the first 15 years of my household, even though it was in America, was just unlimited conversations and stories of just treacherous sadness.
Right.
You know, people dying in their 40s and 50s seem normal. Alcoholism, because vodka consumption in Russia, suppression, you know, anti-Semitism, you know, persecution, jail time, fear, just a sheer level of, you know, I don't think a lot of Americans realize that so many people around the world live in fear.
Right.
You know,
and judgment.
And you know, and I think some of our social unrest in the US in the last decade has given people a taste of it. But the deltas, for all the friends who are listening right now who are Americans, it's, you know, people around the world, if you have the context, like it's amateur hour, our unrest, you know, compared to around the world. So that I think because of that, my friend, everything else flows. The inherent work ethic that comes along with understanding the opportunity, the humility.
Yeah.
You know, people who are electric engineers in one country come here and wash dishes and clean toilets, and will do it in a second because they're like, well, in 4 years I can.
Right.
And so I think it's that macro perspective of actual opportunity
right,
is a huge driver. And so I see it in the drive, I see it in the humility, and I see it in the gratitude and the complete lack of ego. It's that humility that I look for a lot.
Everyone's talking about be authentic. The problem is when all these people are consuming you, they're consuming, you know, everyone else on the planet. And then they put out content. And the hardest part is, where does their voice stop? Where does their voice stop? Where do you start?
Listening to you say, I'm empathetic to those, like I'm listening right now.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time. I'm like, am I the seed of things? You know, like for me, it's easy. So this is a very important question.
Because most people are sponges.
You ready for this?
So, yeah.
I consume nobody and haven't. I actually think the reason I've been very original is I don't consume anything. I consume everyone, but I don't consume any other person that does what I do.
You consume the listeners.
I consume the comments. I just don't have time. First of all, you know this because you have a little bit of insight. I'm a very weird character. Most people have no concept that I'm running a $350 million a year global agency every day, actually. Like you just walked in here, I'm finishing off a meeting with a Fortune 50 CMO, like literally just closing and said, let's go, right? Like It's what I do.
Yep.
So that in itself isn't insane. Then I have real love for my family and want to live that personal life. And then I'm like me, and I'm a maniac. I'm doing Gary V, and I'm doing V Friends, and I'm doing like garage selling. And so I don't have time to consume anything but the consumer. Consuming somebody else that's synthesizing the consumer has no value for me.
So your advice is everyone turn off everyone and just put out the content about you.
Based on them listening to everybody. So for example, when nobody on earth knew who the I was, and I was doing wine, I read Twitter 20 million hours a day to read every single person's point of view on wine. Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for $20 a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag Believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Alex Hormozi, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
The thing is what I have learned is that you can make anything passive and you can make anything active. And one of the difficulties for entrepreneurs when you switch from entrepreneur to investor is that you want to take your passive things and make them more active in order to increase your returns.